tone the message, it's like, oh, you get better. Okay. So anyway, why don't you start by just doing a range of motion. I want you to just like raise your hand each way, up or over, and you'll kind of feel, you know, if you have any constriction, any whatever, and then down. The other side. You don't have to go super slow. And then turn your head both ways, side to side. Very good. Does it feel a little tighter to one side than the other?
It usually feels tighter to the left.
Okay. As I say, because it looks that way. Because it looks like when you go to one way, you actually drop your shoulder a little bit.
This way?
Actually, you get better range of motion either way, but you drop the shoulder there. So it looks like you have better range of motion to the right than to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's something that's good to check, because then we'll find out what it looks like afterwards. So you're going to lay down on the table with your feet off the edge. You know the drill. And you can have your head at either end, doesn't matter. Face down. Drop. And I won't videotape the whole session.
Makes no difference to me.
So Bowenwork is a really soft, gentle body work that works through the central nervous system as opposed to the muscle system. When somebody does massage, they're rubbing your muscles, and trying to make them relax. With Bowenwork, it's kind of like working smarter, not harder, because it's just going to say, we're going to just skip the muscle and go over to the nerve roots. And you just back, take a breath, relax, hold it, pause, and just a nice gentle roll over there, and on the other side, take a breath, and let it out, and pause. And so what that's doing is bypassing the muscle, and it's sending a message right into the nerve cells and the nerve endings and the pathways to say, relax. And then the nerves tell the muscles to relax, which is much easier. It takes a lot less work, a lot less. It's kind of like instead of beating you to make you relax, it's just sending in a little message that kind of overrides the system that's saying be in stress. And then we're going to hit the glutes through here. A little tight.
Mm-hmm.
So what it's doing is it's working with the spindle cells and the Golgi tendon reflex. And the idea is that your body has a feedback loop through the nervous system that is always assessing the central nervous system's level of stress. And by stress, I just mean the broader use as opposed to like emotional or psychological stress. And by doing this move and saying to fire and not fire at the same time, it's not quite sure what to do, and like a circuit breaker, it flips off for just a second. And the idea being is that your body has a blueprint, a master software program. And if you think of it as that, you think of all the stress as being like spyware and malware, which isn't really what the system wants to be doing. So by rebooting the system with the Bowen move, then the body tends to reboot with its master program. It goes back to its original software. And in terms of the body, that software is what's the optimal resting length? What is the optimal tissue tension? So muscles and tissues relax and rehydrate. And what that does is it allows the healing and communication to go through an area so that the body can take care of its own work. Because ultimately, nobody knows your body better than your body does. So the best thing we can do is bring the body into a really good relaxed place where it's safe at the cellular level, and it can do its own work. Because what happens is if the body is in stress mode, it doesn't heal. And this is a biological kind of effect, feature and function, so that what happens, and when we lived in the jungles with lions and tigers and bears, it is really helpful to have this function, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system, where something would happen and you would need a spike of adrenaline to either fight or flight. And then the threat would be over, and your body would then come out of its stress mode. And so we have this capacity to have peaks of stress. And what happens is we are so bombarded with stressors that we live kind of at the top of the bell curve of stress now. And we're consistently being hit with stressors, and we're not being hit with anything that informs our body that a stress situation has passed and that it's safe to come down out of stress mode. And when the body's in stress mode, it's biologically trying to save and reserve all of its resources for potential fight or flight. So it's not effective at digesting, thinking, healing, because when you're in a flight mode, all of those other functions are secondary. So what Bowen is doing is trying to let the body know it's in a safe place, and then it can do its own work from there. How are you doing in here?
Awesome.
So let's just check those glutes again. You notice how that doesn't feel nearly as tender now?
Mm-hmm. Very tingly.
Is it tingly?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a very common, like I said, very often, like with the Bowenwork, you know, she, as she said, she can feel that her body's working on things, her body's doing something. That sometimes people will feel something that's warm or flowing or tingling. That's just all the communication and the tissues that are relaxing or releasing and passing information through. Or maybe there were adhesions there that the body is now removing. Or maybe there's inflammation that the body is now getting rid of. You know, very often, you know, it's twofold. That sometimes there are injuries that the body isn't aware of or capable of healing, and other times there are things that our body perceives that are still there that have no longer really been impacting the body. You know, maybe you twisted your ankle when you were 5, but at some cellular level there's still some restriction there, even though that injury is long since healed. So Bowenwork works kind of from both ends. Closing the door. And so what you do with the Bowenwork is you go through a series of protocols that work through the body. And there are very specific protocols and there are some general protocols. And very often you can find that by going through your initial basic protocols, the body then takes care of a lot of the rest. Because the body wants to come back to wholeness. The body wants to be healed. It knows what it looks like, and it just needs that nudge and to be informed and given the permission to do that. So we're going to go through up on the hamstring here. So how are you feeling now? How are your legs doing?
Busy.
They're busy?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Did you say they feel kind of heavy?
Yeah, my whole body feels kind of heavy. Like super gravity.
Like heavy, like uncomfortable, or just
no,
heavy?
Like really, like those little kid games where you like you tell somebody a story, and you tell them that they're like falling or something, and you feel like you're falling.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Or what's that? What heavy's aboard, lights of fire. Maybe that thing where you
Yeah,
run around, you
two
lift everybody.
fingers, yeah.
Yeah. I was afraid what the psychology is, you know, behind how that works. But I'm assuming you're feeling that kind of head, that really relaxed, heavy as a board.
Mm-hmm. Like I don't think I can sit up.
Uh-huh.
I mean, nor do I.
I was gonna say, but
try.
but I don't really want to give up anyway. Okay, so we're gonna go around and we'll finish up for the last procedures. This again is just a really light, subtle loop, which is a technical term in bodywork, Bowenwork. It's that nice little weird feeling. It doesn't quite feel like when the doctor hits your reflexes. It doesn't quite feel like, almost like when you hit your elbow, there's that weird, like it's just a little subtle. Yeah. How's that feel? You feel like it's, huh? Busy? Okay. So we'll just give that a second to kind of do its thing, and then we'll go through your neck procedure and kind of sit you up. Yeah. As I said, you know, the thing that's kind of cool with the Bowenwork is that there's no one point at which the body just suddenly shifts. It's kind of like that scoop of ice cream. That you get a scoop of ice cream and you put it in the bowl. And you're talking and you're doing this, you're doing that, you know, do the leg procedure and the neck procedure, this and that. And it's been slowly melting while you really weren't paying attention. Yeah. And you look down and it's kind of like, oh, look.
It's liquid.
I'm melting. You know, but with the Bowenwork, like you're melting in a good way.
Yeah.
Like when all that stress melts
Although
out.
I do like melted ice cream.
Yeah, it is pretty good. Yeah. But, you know, when all that stress and all of that tissue tension has released and it's kind of melted away, the body's like, oh my God, this is what happy, relaxed feels like. And even though you feel heavy, it's almost like a floaty heavy.
Yeah.
It's one of those almost contradictions where on one level you feel heavy, like you couldn't move, you don't want to move.
On the other hand, you feel like light and bouncy.
Okay, so we're going to go through the neck procedure now. Okay, as you can see, it's just that really light, delicate kind of touch through. And the back of the neck. And these two last points is really funny because a lot of times you go through the upper back, you know, lower back, you know, all the procedures, you're like, oh, my neck is what's sore, my neck is what's sore. And it's like, no, it's not necessarily the back. It might not be the neck, but also, if you work the rest of the body first, you know, say your neck is sore and has an injury or something. If the rest of the body is tense or stressed, the injured area is going to take a cue off of the rest of the body. If you work the rest of the body and the rest of the body is just completely chill, then you go to the injured area, it's going to be more ready to release. Everything around it is saying, we're good, it's okay. And so that it cues the tense area to come more successfully into its relaxed, healed state. So how's that feeling in your neck? So I was going to say, so what happens is the whole body's kind of come relaxed, you work the neck, and we do, in our culture especially, we carry a lot of stress in our neck and our shoulders, you know. Part of it is the fact that, you know, we are not as mobile as we should be. We live in a much more sedentary culture than we were ever biologically developed to. You know, nature did not really evolve chairs. You know, nature evolved trees and hills and streams and things that move and things we have to climb. And actually, it's really interesting. I was reading something a little while ago about the distinction between walking barefoot and walking with shoes and walking over natural terrain. And I played around with this. Probably looked kind of silly because I was walking down the sidewalk barefoot, and then I walked over into the grass, and I walked back over to the sidewalk to walk barefoot, you know, and I walked over in the grass. And in natural terrain, we really do use more of our muscles. It's easier and more of a workout for the body. When you walk on perfectly flat terrain, it's always the same muscles and it's more of a pounding. When you go over all those little hillocks and your foot and your legs kind of roll around those, it encourages the whole body to have to engage. So yeah, we really weren't biologically evolved to be in artificial environments. But yeah, it's really cool. You should play around with it sometime if you get a chance. You know, walk on a sidewalk and feel how your body kind of, you know, processes that gait. And then walk over grass, particularly if it's not like, you know, like a golf course, you know, where the grass is so perfect that, you know, you wouldn't have any, you know, any variation. Just walk the grass and just kind of feel how your foot molds in and around the different subtle shapes and nuances and how much that shifts the way the rest of your body responds when you walk. But yeah, so we really weren't meant to be sedentary, and our neck and our shoulders take a lot of stress, especially in today's modern culture, because when we sit so much and we pull forward, and very often we'll say that our neck and our shoulders are tight, and what happens is our neck and our shoulders actually aren't tight. This area through here is being overstretched. What gets tight is what's in front. Anyhow, so by loosening everything else up and then coming to this area which is tight, it's almost like getting double the efficiency and effectiveness in the release. that you're getting this to release, but you're getting it to release almost to like 110% because the rest of the body is just so relaxed in such a good place that the distinction between the stress and the release when you hit the troubled area is that much more effective. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
How's that feeling?
Okay.
Get back this last little move here. How's that feel? The average Bowen session usually lasts between an hour and a half. It can sometimes be a little harder to pinpoint exactly how long a session will last because when the body's working on something, you give it that time and space to finish processing. And I particularly like to be able to say, no, give you this much time before we move on. So, in that duration, we've gone through, several different procedures that have worked through the lower back, the upper back, the neck, and the hamstring and the leg. I particularly like to do the hamstring, even especially in the first procedure, because very often when we're tight through our neck and our shoulders, and we think our back is tight, very often what is really also tight, or at least contributing to it, is the glutes and the hamstrings. And by releasing through here, it takes the pressure off of everything up and down the spine, and you get a better release through the upper body. That still feel busy? Mm-hmm. No? Mm-hmm. Are you ready to sit up? Mm-hmm. So when I'm getting up, you just kind of help them get up, and you just kind of let them sit up, and then put your feet over the side. Go, just for a second. Roll your shoulders around a bit. And turn your neck side to side. How does that feel for range of motion now?
Mm-hmm. Good.
Do you feel the difference? And we have helper. The range of motion, and also just, it looks like you're working hard, like you don't have to stretch to get the turn.
Primer.
Yes, somebody is very happy for you. I think he wants some little doggy Bowenwork.
Can't blame him.
I wonder if he would relax. Maybe he would just become chill.
I don't think that's possible.
And do the arms and just see how they feel. Oh,
good.
Now you said you had something with your right shoulder a little bit when you were rock climbing.
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel now?
Definitely more range of motion.
Yeah. That's even after rotting, you really warm up.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome.